Travel advice for visiting the Balkans in Europe. I'm Chris. This is Yellow Productions. I do travel guides that are fun, informative, entertaining, and in today's live stream, we are joined via the magic of the internet by Bert Diggs of the channel Food Expert, who is coming from us in the Balkans. Bert, welcome to the show. Where are you right now?
Currently, I'm in Belgrade, Serbia. And by the way, Chris, thank you so much for having me. I've been watching your show for like the past 3 years or so, and I've always enjoyed your Japanese travel guides and stuff. And but yeah, it's really awesome to be here on the show today and explaining to you like the things to do here in this part of the world, because you've never been here before, which you got to come here sometime for sure.
Yeah. That sounds good. And so for those who don't know, and nobody knows because you're not in the middle of the conversations that Bert and I have, but Bert and I were chatting about 5 months ago, and Bert was telling me he was going to Albania. And I said, hey, Bert, when you come back, we should do a show about how travel in Albania was. And then Bert sent me a message the other day that said, Chris, I've just been here in the Balkans, and I've got a really cool background where I am right now in Belgrade. So how about we do a show all about the Balkans and what it's like to travel there for 5 months? So Bert has some really deep knowledge on the region, which I have none of because I've never been there. And so, Bert, I want to ask you, why did you decide to go to the Balkans?
I came here because of the situation, and I decided that I didn't want to be stuck in the United States anymore after 9 months. I'm an expat, so I've been living in Beijing, China for about 9 years, and I started my YouTube channel 2 years ago, and I felt so kind of in a bubble in the United States when I was there for 9 months during COVID. I really had a block of making content there. I couldn't think of what to do, so I found that the best thing for me to do was to get back out on the road and travel, even though people said not to. Albania was a great choice because the weather, it's like kind of like a little bit colder than San Diego in the wintertime, but it's a little bit warmer than, Seattle, Washington. It's somewhere in between. And we have a lot of sunny days. It's like 300 sunny days out of 365 days of the year. So it's like 60 rainy days, 65 rainy days, and 300 sunny days. So, but yeah, that's why I decided to head out and get on the road.
Yeah, that's a great reason to get it on the road. Rhonda says, I don't even know where Albania is. So, Bert, can you tell us where is the Balkans? Where is Albania? Where are we talking about?
Albania is on the Adriatic Sea across from Italy, and it's right north from Greece. So Greece, the Macedonia region of Greece. So there's a country, Macedonia, and then there's the region of Greece that's known as Macedonia. So they're both, they're both borders of Albania. And so you find a lot of great seafood in Albania, a lot of great cool attractions that are like natural wonders that are kind of not discovered. There's some World Heritage sites there, like UNESCO World Heritage sites that like no one really talks about, and it's very affordable. You can compare it to Thailand affordable prices, or even Cambodia. For Europe, it's very affordable.
Yeah, and so when I think about the Balkans as a region, it's the countries you see on the screen. It's essentially Southeast Europe. So if you're thinking about geography-wise, it's kind of down in that corner. Scottman895 Travel says, 2 of my friends went to Albania and absolutely loved it. And then Justin says, if you want to know where it is, just watch some episodes of Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego. We can do that as a group watching sometime. And so, Bert, getting around the Balkans, obviously you've been there for a few months. What is getting around the Balkans in these countries look like?
Getting around in the Balkans is you have to figure it out yourself because not every bus station goes everywhere. So, for example, when you're in Albania, you got the north bus station and the south bus station, and they go to different places of Albania. They're the buses that don't actually have a time they leave. They leave when the bus is full, typically. Good. So you can leave, you can like get there, and then you have to wait 2 hours for the bus to fill up. They're like running around trying to fill up the bus. So it's kind of a mess sometimes, but it's $5 to get 3 hours away to somewhere. It just, and I've also been in some empty buses too, because the buses just, they didn't pack it in, but they still need to go because they need to pick up the next bus down the road. And luckily, the drivers are not that crazy. I've been to some places in like Asia where the drivers drive really fast, like in India or Thailand. They have a place to go and it's really dangerous. But in Albania, they drive very slow. So that is one good thing about Albania. They do have a lot of mountains and stuff in Albania, so you do worry about that stuff.
Yeah. Well, having just come back from Hawaii, I know what it means for things to leave when they want to, right? The joke in Hawaii, if you ask when this bus leaves, they'll be like, bus leaves when the bus leaves. That's when it leaves. If we're
Yeah.
in Japan, on the other hand, the bus leaves at 12:32 exactly, right? Yeah. Simo says, I've been to Albania, Tirana, and the food was OMG. I've also been to Bulgaria, Hungary, Montenegro, and Serbia. The region is really underrated. Well, I know we're going to get
Yeah.
into food in just a little bit, but Bert, why don't you tell us, so the past 5 months, overall, how has being in the Balkans been?
It's been a little bit frustrating, honestly, because I can't get back to Asia. No Asian country is open. I would like to get back to, Thailand and some other places, but I really do love the Balkans. And I came here 3 years ago, and I really loved my trip, and I always wanted to come back. I just didn't know I was going to be here for 5 months. Almost, it's been
Yeah,
6 months
it's a long
now,
time.
actually.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I love it here. I love the places to go. Kind of the food is amazing. You got like just we'll get in the food later, but the people are very warm, friendly for the most part. I mean, not everyone is obviously, but Albania is known for being like a very crime-ridden place. Is what everyone is like. They watch the movie Taken and then they think, oh, Albania is a really dangerous place. It's very sketchy. I don't want to go there. But honestly, it's a pretty nice place to be, actually. There's nice mountains there. The capital, Tirana, is one of the safest cities I've ever been. I had no problem there. They've got a massive square. They've got police everywhere, and they love Americans so much. They are very friendly to Americans. Basically, like they're just like, "Oh, American, let me buy you a drink," or "You're
That's cool.
American, you could be out after curfew," and the police officer's like, "Oh, go away. You're American. You got to go home." And there's no ticket for tourists, like when you're out past curfew. I mean, I try to follow the rules, but sometimes you're out and you need to go back home.
Yeah.
So,
So,
anyways, it's
so
just, yeah,
Yeah,
go
so in,
ahead.
in the region, where have you been so far? And I've put the map up so we can visualize where you've been.
So this trip, only this trip, or all
This
together
trip,
in the
this trip,
Balkans?
this trip.
For just this trip, I've been to Tirana, Albania, which is the capital, and then I've been to Pogradec, which you would pronounce it probably Pogradic because it's spelled Pogradic, but it's pronounced, and it's actually the actual way to say it is Pogradec, and that is just a 2 hour ride from Albania to a lake called Ohrid Lake. Ohrid is the World Heritage Site lake. It's a natural heritage site, and it's also the city of Ohrid is a UNESCO heritage site. So it's a really okay. Anyway, so those are really special places. Uh, I also went to Saranda. I went to Skopje. I spent 1 month in Skopje, which is the capital of North Macedonia, and I also spent almost 3 weeks in Ohrid Lake area, like Ohrid City, and then a city called Struga, which is also on Ohrid Lake, and then where else have I been? I spent quite a few days in Albania in Vlora, Albania, and then I went up also to Niš in Serbia. Niš is like the kind of the center of Serbia. It's not. It's like the second biggest city in Serbia. It's a pretty big
Yeah. And
country.
Bert,
But
so
yeah,
as you've been traveling around, what have the hotels looked like? What's the accommodation look like there? Hotels, Airbnbs, castles, palaces?
yeah. There's a big wide range, and you get a lot more if you spend a little bit more. You can get a lot. So sometimes you can spend, 20 or $15, and you get like a normal apartment. But if you spend like $45, and this picture we were looking at right now is in Skopje. That's in Macedonia, the capital, right in the city center. This apartment costs 43 US dollars, including all the fees and everything on booking.com. And if you book it for the whole month, it's probably going to be around $33 per night
Is this
on
actually like the
average.
inside of the apartment? I mean, this looks like a hotel lobby. Is this the lobby or is this the actual apartment?
That's the whole apartment, and
Wow.
the upstairs is like, it's like a fantasy land. It's kind of like a Willy Wonka chocolate factory meets in Barcelona there's uh, the guy that did the paintings there. I forget his name, but it's the
Gaudi,
really
probably.
special
Yeah.
Gaudi. That's
Yeah.
right, Gaudi. Yeah, it's like being in one of Gaudi's houses, except it's just not quite as. I mean, it's a little bit more cheap feeling than that, but it's a really beautiful apartment. It's like, and there's even a sword. You get your own sword in that apartment too.
And then right now, where you are, we see kind of an interesting background behind you. Where is that? Did you rent an apartment or a hotel? What's behind you?
Yeah, this is actually my apartment here in Belgrade. This one is $18 per night.
Wow.
And so it's like it's a pretty big place. It's very artsy. There is some problems with it, but it's not anything big. It's just some small little minor things, but yeah, it's like $18 per night. But that's for the month. Like if you get this one for like one night, it's around 30 US dollars per night. So if you do 1 month in one place, you can talk to the Airbnb host, and they will be glad, especially during this time, to give you a big discount, depending on if you bargain with them enough.
Yeah. So Troy said $43 was cheap for the one you showed earlier, but $43,
Yeah.
$18 for the one you're staying at. That's really impressive. Martin wants to know though,
Yeah.
who's the lady in the picture behind you?
Oh, who's the lady in the picture behind me? Oh, this lady here.
Yeah, that
I
lady
actually
there.
don't know. It looks well. I can tell you who this guy is. Right here. Oh wait, here I'm going to show you. Oh, here. This is. I'm going to try to show you guys
Yep, your full screen.
this.
So whatever you see on your screen, they'll
Oh
see
wait.
right now.
Oh, actually, we're not on my main camera. This is my computer camera. Uh, anyways, this
There you
is
go.
James Bond. Yeah, so I was actually using the wrong camera, to be honest. So this is James Bond right here, and yeah, so James Bond's character actually originated here in Serbia. The character is Serbian that lived in UK, and then that like Sean Connery was the originator that was the original James Bond, but this like that is the theme that they wanted James Bond's character to be like a Serbian spy. And so that is kind of the background story back in the 1950s when they wrote James Bond. I guess it was the late 50s, and then 60s is when they started the filming. But yeah, it's a pretty cool thing, like where James Bond originated.
That sounds good. Rhonda says next time somebody asks you about that picture behind you, you should make up an amazing story about her because nobody would ever know. So thank you for that, Rhonda.
Yeah.
So, Bert, you've been traveling during COVID for the last 5 months. You said you were going crazy in California, and people told you not to go. How would you say the experience traveling for 5 months, kind of full time during COVID, has been?
It's been, it's got its downfalls. Sometimes you feel like it's never ending, like, this country's blocked off, you can't get out of the country you're in. But as far as for Albania and the Balkans, it's been really not that bad. It's, the just exploring and getting out, walking around every day, it really helps you, pass the time. And I don't know, it's not as bad here in the Balkans, being here in just the fresh food. It's more organic here. The food is like more, like less GMO over here. Like Albania, they don't use that much pesticides and all the different things like fertilizers that we have in the U.S. They actually choose to grow things more organically. And so, I mean, they're kind of, Albania was kind of blocked off from the rest of the world back in the 1990s and earlier than that even. And they have, of course, opened up since the early 90s. And yeah, I mean, it's just been interesting to live in a former communist country,
For sure, for sure. Well, I know a lot of people, when I told people I'm going to Hawaii, people are like, Chris, I don't think you should go. There's the COVID test, everything's closed. And I mean, yeah, there's all those things. We got to wear a mask on the plane, but we put it on, we got the test, we got over it, and we got on with our trip and enjoyed it. And I know a lot of people have been asking, when am I going to talk about Hawaii? That'll be 2 weeks from today. So if you want to know all about the Hawaii trip, you can stay tuned for that. Troy wants to know, Bert and Chris, what are you guys drinking today? So it's always a feature. I always have something interesting to drink. I don't know if you've got something there off camera, Bert, but I have a golden black tea latte today. And it's a strong black tea. So it's kind of like if you took a strong black breakfast tea, added a little bit of floral taste to it, a little bit of milk. That's what you got. What do you got, Bert?
So this is just a sparkling water, but it's really a refreshing drink, honestly. Here in the Balkans, they have really crisp water, and that also makes for very good beer when you have got really good water, and then they add that, of course, they make beer with water. It's just, you have a lot of great tasting beers, but yeah, this water is just, about 60 cents. No, 29 cents at the grocery store for this massive jug of water. And it's very carbonated. They like their carbonated drinks very bubbly, for sure.
Yeah, I heard it when you opened it up. Whenever I hear sparkling water from Europe, I always think about the first trip that OC Girl and I took to Italy, and we sat down at a restaurant, we asked for water, and the waiter says, gas no gas. Would you like the water? Gas no gas. We're like, what are you talking about, gas or no gas? But on an English level, right, obviously, gas in your water, not gas in your water. On the English level, around the Balkans, how's the English comprehension or the language? Do people understand English? Do you get by more with pictures and points or Google Translate? How's that been?
It's funny you say gas, no gas. That's the exact way that they say that to me here in, well, not here in Serbia, but in Albania, they always say gas, no gas.
Interesting.
And I think that's is they really have got they learn English kind of like through Italy a little bit. And their second language is Italian, and then English is Albanian number 1, English number 2, Italian number 3. So I mean, it's not surprising that they would use the same phrases and learn from the same textbooks to learn English as the Italians. So yeah, it's, but yeah, I find that the English here is really pretty good. Surprisingly, like even 3 years ago, it was really, there was no problem. Everybody in Albania is speaking pretty okay English to get by, and it makes it really easy for us as tourists. Here in Serbia, on the other hand, some people actually don't speak English, or they pretend not to. But there is, any young people are speaking very, okay English.
Yeah. I love people who pretend not to speak English. I had that experience in France where it's like, I go up to a bakery counter and some lady looks at me and, I go, parlez-vous anglais? And she goes, no, and then walks off. It's like,
Yeah.
Can I get some help, though? I mean, I know that you could help me if you want to, but you've just decided not to, But let's go ahead and get into the food, because I know a lot of people are interested in that. And so we've got a picture right here of this one. What's the food like, and maybe what are we looking at here?
So this one is very common to find here in Serbia. This is basically just pork ribs, and it's barbecued. In Serbia, they love barbecued food and barbecued meat. And this is just a really common one you're going to find. And they serve a lot of their things with onions. So those things over there, that's onion and a piece of carrot, is like a garnish. But they really do love, every bite to have some meat and onion together. And the barbecue ribs, there's no sauce on these particular ones. But yeah, the flavor, it's just the meat is not like processed the same way as the United States. It's like kind of a unique taste. It's just very, it's like organic. If you go buy the organic stuff in the United States, that is similar to what this is going to taste like because it's just not as many things going into this and not, GMO'd out.
Yeah, Osi girl would love it because she loves onions. I see that little dish on the left-hand side that looks like onions. Whenever we get Mexican food, like if we get one taco, then Osi girl likes an equivalent volume of onions and cilantro to go with that taco. I think the taco for her is it's like a vehicle for eating onions.
Yeah, cilantro is amazing. Like I absolutely love cilantro and everything. In Chinese food, there's a lot of cilantro, surprisingly, in the hot pot. So
Yeah, for sure.
I, yeah,
And
the cilantro, just tons of cilantro.
but it's funny. There are some people who like absolutely hate cilantro, and I find that interesting too. It's like I never knew cilantro could be such a vile thing. But I think this was the food you were talking about earlier that people might mispronounce. What is this? And how do you pronounce that? That looks
So
like a
this
lot of
is
consonants all jumbled together.
Preskavitsa. Preskavitsa is basically it's a hamburger, but in fancier restaurants, it's served without the bun, but on the go when you're in a fast food place or a street food kind of stand or like a stand and eat kind of place, then they serve it with the bun, and the bun is like a kind of like a English muffin bun with like most of the time the good ones will be toasted. So yeah, you got that kind of the beef. Typically it's beef, but sometimes they mix it up with like lamb or pork or chicken. So it just depends on where you are in Serbia, whatever the meat specialty is. But typically
I
it
do
is just
I do see a copious amount of onions there next to that one on the left. Um, and Rhonda says cilantro is the best. Onions are good, but leave bad breath at times. Indeed, they do.
yeah.
And so, what about the
And
seafood?
then the seafood, the best place to go for seafood in the Balkans would be like Montenegro, Albania, and Croatia. I mean, they're right next to the ocean. Oh, Greece also. Greece would be amazing. Greece is part of the Balkans too. So I mean, you got just the best seafood there, and you can see there's actually some sea urchins in there. You can have like some very small sea urchins. All the food was like in this one, like the shrimp, the other fish that are in there, except for the salmon, were all from the Adriatic Sea. But the salmon is imported from, I guess, like Norway, and so yeah, it's all straight from the Adriatic Sea from the fishermen. The octopus, the all the fresh seafood stuff. It's just, it's a good place if you want to get like a full meal like this. It might cost around 30 or $40, but it's well worth it because you're getting that really good European fresh seafood.
Cool. We've got a picture of you with a goat. Tell me about this picture.
This was kind of a sad picture, but very like happy to meet the goat. But the problem is this goat is very cute. Goats are a lot cuter than you think. And so, yeah, I mean, I went up to the village with the owner of the restaurant for the video, and I I just loved all these goats. They were jumping around and they were just so cute. But later on that night, of course, I tried the goat, and it was amazing. It was the best goat I've had in my whole life. But the problem is that the goats are too cute. You know, you don't want to go visit the goats. You want to just go to the restaurant and skip the visiting the goats. But the goats are treated very well, and they're just jumping around, and they're eating the grass all around. They're fed really relatively organic things. The flavor of the goat, it was just like melt in your mouth, crispy. It had like a little bit of seasoning on it, but not too much. I, I can't describe it. It's just like, it's crunchy, but like melts in your mouth at the same time.
Yeah, I think it sounds good. I think I would prefer to skip the visit to the goat too. Yeah, I never to me
Yeah.
I never really understand that the Chinese restaurants do it sometimes too, where it's like you order a fish and then they bring it to your table to be like, "Do you want this fish?" And I'd be like, "I could have done without
Yeah.
actually seeing the fish before. You could just go ahead and cook that. That's fine." Um,
Yeah, you don't want to see the fish alive. But like, yeah, these are baby goats, and they kill them when they're like probably around like 3 or 4 or 5 months old. So it's like it's a trade-off. You know, you get this very tender goat, but it's like it's sad at the same
Yeah.
time. You wish the goat could have a longer life, but at least it had a good life. It didn't like get crammed into cages and get fed all these antibiotics and hormones to make it grow super fat. Like this goat just like lived its best life and then got killed after maybe 3 months, 4 months.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know exactly how long they take to process the goats, but it's a natural. They're in a national park, and they just and all the animals like that he serves at his restaurant is called Syrian. It's the best restaurant for meat that I've been to in all of the Balkans, and it's around $20 per person, maybe $25 depending on what you get. They don't have a menu. You just show up and they do whatever is in season. It's one of those kinds of restaurants.
Yeah.
It's right in the city center of Tirana.
Cool. Balut John Baker said, "Whatever you do, don't try old goat." Noted. Uh,
Oh yeah,
and then I'll say
the
Balut John.
flavor is going to
Go
be
ahead.
more gamey.
Yeah.
Oh, the flavor is going to be super gamey with the old goat.
And then Balut John Baker says he's watching from North Dakota, USA. I'm curious. I ran into some fans in North Dakota in Hawaii last week. Were you one of the two, or was that different fans from North Dakota? All right. So we've got here ice cream. So what about dessert?
Yeah, yeah. So Albania has got this kind of Italian love-hate relationship. Actually, it's mostly just love. They were just occupied by Italy for like a couple years during World War II, but they actually love Italian food. They love Italian culture. They just love Italy so much, and they love it when the Italians come to visit them. And they have got a lot of gelato. Like every single corner has got a gelato stand, and they all serve different ones. This particular gelato stand is the best I found, and I ate like I don't know. I had all the gelato stands in. I was in Albania for like 3 months, and I tried almost every single one. They're all like 50 cents or 60 cents
Wow.
for a scoop of ice cream, which is ridiculously cheap. But this stand had like real blueberries in the ice cream, and it was only 50 cents also for their ice cream. It was like super sour. You get blueberries. It was like really really good. Less
Nice.
sugar in this one.
That
So
is
this one
cheap
is called
because in Italy,
yeah
whenever we get gelato, it's like €5 or €6 or
three.
something. Yeah.
Oh
Well,
wow.
yeah. Well, we like to go to Giolitti in which is like one of the Pope's favorite places for ice
Oh
cream
wow.
or gelato. But you were saying this one was creamy.
This one not creamy. It's sour. It's almost like they
Mm,
didn't use as much sugar, and it was like
okay.
it had a good amount of cream. The blueberry flavor was what I loved the most, but they have also vegan options too. It's called Frederica, and anyways, it's just the best one. They also have got like vegan pizza, and no vegan pizza, but it's vegetarian pizza. But they've got vegan ice cream and some other vegan options for food too.
Rhonda
What's the
wants to.
weather like in
Yeah. What's the weather
Albania?
like?
So yeah, the weather is kind of it's the wettest countries in the Balkans, but at the same time, they only have got 6 days per year where it rains, or like 70 days per year when it rains. But actually, I found that there was a lot more rainy days when I was there. Like it felt like most of the rainy days were like while I was there because it was the rainy season. But yeah, they have got a long time of like no rain, but they also have got a ton sunny days. So it makes for a good beach weather. Pretty much whenever one place in Albania is sunny, it seems like everywhere in Albania is sunny. So there's no escaping the weather when you're in Albania.
So back on the food subject, what about this? What about this mussel that you had here?
So yeah, it's pronounced like Musul, Musul. The locals will say like Musul, and I was like trying to figure out what they were saying. Well, the taxi driver got this dish here, and I'm like, I just eat what I like to eat whatever the locals eat whenever I go to a country. And I asked him, "What is that?" And he's like, "Mosul." And I just, okay, what part of the cow is that? And then he like pointed to the arm of the or the leg of the cow, and so it's like kind of the muscles of the legs of the cow, and the flavor of this, it's like cooked. You can see it's got some like basil or mint cooked in there, and then it's got like a little bit of garlic and other very ooey gooey goodness sauce in there. This is kind of like a prime rib. It tastes just like prime rib. It just like melts in your
Hmm.
mouth. It's a little bit like less like it's cooked slowly. It feels like, but it's not like overcooked and it's not dry. And it's only $5 to get that one. I mean, it's like ridiculously good.
Yeah, that's cheaper than prime rib. We had prime rib in Hawaii last week at Lily Ha Bakery. I think it was $25 for the prime rib. But in Hawaii, instead of getting potatoes with the prime rib, we got fried rice and macaroni salad with the prime rib, as one would in Hawaii. Ed says, tell him about the coffee.
Yeah, the coffee. So in Albania, they do espresso, very similar to Italy. It's basically just typical, Italian espresso. Everywhere you go, it's very similar.
Well,
But you can't get like Starbucks. There's no Starbucks in Albania.
oh, all right. That's interesting. And I love Italian coffee, so I would probably love it there. Brandon says, just wanted to stop in to say hello. Thanks for coming in, Brandon. Rhonda wants to know, what's the population there? Is it crowded?
No, it's not super crowded. Tirana is the most populated. I think there's almost like there's around 1 million people that are no wait. Oh, I forget the population right now. I normally know, but I think it's 5,000 million people in Toronto. I think it's around that. No, no, not 1 million. I think actually I forgot. Sorry.
Okay. Well,
Um,
we'll ask Wikipedia. I'll find that out in a second, and then why don't
okay.
you
It's
tell us?
not crowded though.
Why don't you tell us about this? What do you got here?
So this is a traditional Macedonian kafana meal here, and I'm with a very special tour guide, the free walking tour guide, the original one guy that did this. He showed us in some kind of a video that isn't out yet or anything, but so you've got a thing called like a sarma, which you can see it's the grape leaves that are wrapping the the rice, the grape leaves wrapping the rice, also known as a dolma or sarma. And then you got like white cheese. It's very similar to feta cheese, but they just call it white cheese there. And then all the different sauces is kind of like little tiny tapas. You got the beans, you got the chili paste. There's the kind of tahini cream with some cucumber cut up in it. And then we've got the sour peppers with cheese stuffed inside. So there's just all these different little tapas here, and the one on the right actually reminded me a little bit of of kind of a Chinese dish, kind of fried up. Yeah.
Cool.
So
Well, Ed came to your
Albania,
rescue,
one
and he said
million.
that so I think 1 million is Tirana, and then the countries. Ed says two. Justin corrects him and gives a point 0.8 at the end. So
Oh,
there we go.
2.8 million. Okay, yeah, that makes
Yes.
sense. Yeah, I remembered that. And then Durres is the second biggest city, and it's got like 400,000 people. So it's just like everything else in Albania is a very small town compared to Tirana. Tirana is a beautiful city, though. Honestly, it's just not so much infrastructure for the roads. So there's always traffic jams in that city.
So what about the kafana culture?
Yeah, so the kafana culture is kind of like in the Balkans, like in Macedonia, Montenegro, Serbia, and apparently Albania too. Basically, it's just kind of like a restaurant slash cafe and a bar, kind of like a place where bands play. So they play their local kind of Balkans, Yugoslavia style music, and they kind of go around the tables playing for everybody. It's very affordable there. A meal for one person is around 15 to 20 US dollars. Sometimes it's a bit more at the more fancy places. But yeah, like you got all these different, you know, interesting dishes that are kind of like home cooked dishes. But yeah, I mean, it's just like a very exciting atmosphere, bar, restaurant kind of place.
That's cool. You talked about the beer earlier. What about the beer?
So the beers they got here in all of the Balkans and everything, the best place for beer is probably Serbia because you've got the India Pale Ales, all the American craft beers you can think of, kind of the made locally beers. So they kind of got the inspiration from like San Diego and all over the United States for making all the great hopped beers. And most of the hops are locally grown apparently, and some of them are imported too. So that makes the beer prices a little bit more expensive. But I found, so in Albania, there's not as much craft breweries and stuff. So you're not going to find the India Pale Ale in Albania typically, unless it's imported directly from that country to be on the shelves in Albania. So to go to a bar in Albania for draft fresh beer, yeah, I mean, it's just not as much you're going to find as selection compared to places like Serbia.
What about wine, Bert? I saw in your video where you were eating sheep's head soup that you were drinking some wine. So what about the wine there?
Yeah, sheep's head soup. I think that was rakia with a sheep's head soup. Or yeah, possibly I also was drinking some wine too then too. So Albania is not the place for wine, surprisingly. They have some wines, but they're a little bit overpriced. They're like $10 for a bottle for a decent bottle of wine. Uh, so if you go over one country, you've got Macedonia, North Macedonia, which creates some of the best wines in the region. They have got, $3 bottles of wine that are just as good as the Albanian $10 bottle of wine. So if you're a wine person, Macedonia might be really good, or even Serbia might be a very good choice, or even Greece. But Greece is kind of the, European Union, Balkans, other brother.
James wants to know if there's a McDonald's there. You mentioned there's no Starbucks, but are there McDonald's?
No, there's no McDonald's. There is McDonald's in Serbia and Montenegro and Croatia, but there's no McDonald's in Macedonia or Albania. So there's just no McDonald's. Also Starbucks. No Starbucks in Albania and Macedonia. There's no Starbucks. So yeah, both of those countries they're a little bit smaller, so they're a little bit off of McDonald's like map, but they might
Yeah.
come back. They were in Macedonia for a couple of years, and then they decided to leave Macedonia because I guess they didn't sell enough. There's too many other good options to eat in Macedonia, so it's hard for them to compete with those good local dishes. The praskavica.
Yes. Rhonda says, "Hey, please smash that thumbs up button. Support Chris. Support Bert too. It is like 2:30 in the morning where Bert is right now, so let's give Bert some love with a thumbs up on this video."
Thank you,
And
guys.
then Rhonda says, "I'm interested to know what fast foods are similar there, and do they taste the same?"
Okay, that's a really good question. Albania has got the kind of like a French fried doner kebab with some pork. Surprisingly, Albania is a Muslim country, like it's Christian and Muslim, but they love pork there. The Muslims eat pork, everybody eats pork. It's just, it's part of the food there from the history. They've always eaten pork. Well, Ottoman Empire times, I'm guessing they did not eat pork, but during the dictatorship times, they did eat pork. So yeah, the fast food, they've got some very similar things to Greece. Souvlaki, which is like kind of a wrap with French fries and then cut up meats, kind of like a gyro, like a gyro. You cut up a gyro and you put it into a kind of a taco shape, kind of pita, and then you wrap that with the pita, and then you put the fries on top. Then you put all the toppings on the yogurt, the mustard, or whatever you want onto the top of it. So that is souvlaki, and it's really good. It's around $2 for a really good souvlaki, but I was there 3 years ago, and it was like $1.20. So it's actually gone up quite a bit for the meat prices in Albania since the last time I was there.
Speaking of meat, Troy says McDonald's left because nobody was buying the leg muscle Big Mac. And
Oh
Rhonda
yeah.
says, Bert is amazing for being up at that hour for us. Kathy says, my kids won't go there if there's no macas. Macca's,
Oh,
Macca's. Yeah. And Kevin said, my wife is from Montenegro. Would love to be in Budva or up in the
oh yeah.
Zabslak Mountains. Yeah, clearly my
Zab,
pronunciation.
Zab,
Go ahead.
Zabhak,
Zabhak.
Zabalhak, Zabalhak. Like the J makes the H sound, just like Spanish. So Zabalhak, I think that would be possibly how you pronounce it. Uh, but yeah, Budva I heard is a really nice place. I've never been there. I've only been in Montenegro to um, a couple other cities, but not Budva.
Ooh, Taiwan has an
I would love.
embedded question here, which basically says, is it safe there?
It's absolutely safe. It's even in the middle of the night. You can walk down the street. As a American, especially, you're safe because the police are really like they have got your back. They don't want any incidents with Americans, especially. They like have statues of our presidents
Mm.
because of the history over the past 20 years with Serbia and Albania. So they have got like a George Bush statue right next to Tirana, very close city to Tirana, and then in Kosovo, which is another place, autonomous, not autonomous region. It's like a country. It is a country to most people, and so it's basically they've got a Bill Clinton statue in Kosovo, and they also have a lot of American bases in Kosovo, and they also are going to get a lot of bases in Albania very soon. So they're kind of a NATO ally.
Cool. When you've been there, speaking of crime and things like that, have you encountered any scams? Have you been the victim of any scams? Have you seen any scams?
I have not seen any scam in Albania, but I have seen a scam that I wasn't sure at first it was a scam because it was a little bit believable. So a guy here in Serbia, Belgrade, at the fortress, he was asking me if I could help him out buy a ticket to Romania. Um, he wanted to give me his headphones, trade me some beats, and he needed like 79 euros. So this is like a, you don't know, you would love to help someone out, but 79 euros, and they're
Yeah,
probably fake beats
right.
anyways. If they're real, then it's a great deal. But I lived in China for 10 years, so I know most beats are fake.
Taguela, too expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Taiguela.
Yeah.
It's like basically like, you know, so anyways, my friend Vern, who's also a YouTuber, he he went down the same road and he had the same guy not selling him headphones, but also saying he needs a trip. He needs to get a bus ticket to Romania. So
Yeah.
he first of all asks if you can speak English. So the first off thing, when someone asks you if they can speak English, they want to know if you are a tourist.
Right.
So they want to pretend like they're the victim and they are like they just need your help because no one else can speak English except for you. As a tourist, you are more likely to give money because you're traveling, you have money to give. So, anyways, that is one thing to watch out for. If you're a first time traveler, someone comes up to you and asks if you speak English, it's sometimes better to just say, no, I don't speak English, or
Yeah.
just say, no, no comprendo.
我不会说英语. The problem with Spanish, no hablo inglés. A lot of people speak Spanish and they speak that to you. So, I like to pick a language that a lot of people
Yeah,
don't speak. Then you go, well, Chris, a lot of people speak Chinese, but not when you're not in Asia. Um, so,
yeah.
Bert, what advice would you have for people that, want to go out and travel in the Balkans? What advice would you have for them?
I would just say pack light because you don't want to have too much stuff. You want to be able to move around freely. Uh, like a roller bag is probably not the best bet. If you have got a lot of camera gear like me, I have to have a roller bag, but it's like pack light, just go and don't be afraid to meet new people because a lot of people here are very friendly. There's not as many scams as you would think because all of the Albanian scammers are off in Italy scamming people or in England. So they're not actually in their own country scamming people. They're in the other countries scamming people. But yeah, I mean, not all Albanians are bad at all that are abroad either. They're really nice people. I've met a lot of Albanians that come back and forth to back and forth to Albania and then go back to Italy. So just they're really nice, genuine people. They like to drink rakia. They like just don't be afraid to like take a shot of rakia with people, to bond with people, to make friends. They'll show you their country and their city a lot better if you are open to make a friend like this.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Rhonda wants to know if they have Uber and Lyft there.
They in Albania they don't, but they have a lot of taxis, so it's very easy. I don't have it in. They don't have Uber or Lyft in Albania, but they do have something called. They have their own thing in Serbia called Go, and so it's like Uber. They used to have Uber, but then they got rid of it, and so now they just have this app called Cargo. So you can get around the city like that, but I haven't gotten it to work because I can't. I don't have a local Visa card that's from Serbia, so I can't get it to work. I don't know if other people, can get theirs to work, but yeah, I haven't been able to.
Kevin Campbell points out that in Montenegro they sometimes put streams of ketchup on their pizza. Have you seen that, Bert?
In Albania, I put ketchup on my pizza and mustard also. They put a lot of mustard and ketchup on my pizza one time, and it was pretty good, honestly. I think I would do it again.
All right. Chris from Australia asks if the Prankster car from the Vacation movie is a real Albanian car.
The Prance car. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
The Prance. I'll look that up later. I'm sorry. I wish I knew about that one. As if it's a real Albanian car. That would be cool, though.
Yeah. All right. Well, I know there's been a lot of questions, but I want to formally open it up now.
Fellow explorers, it is now Q&A time. If you've got a question, I've got an answer.
So if you asked a question and it didn't get an answer, go ahead and ask it now, because now is your time to ask questions. See, Rhonda says, what are some of the highlights there, like amusement parks or national parks?
National parks, they've got quite a few national parks all around in Albania. For example, like Okra Lake is basically a national park, and all around there's a lot of mountains there that are considered national parks where you can go hiking there. Albania has got a lot of like national parks. Montenegro too, and Belgrade, Serbia also too. But as far as amusement parks, I have not been to one because of, I think the situation has restricted us to open the amusement parks, but to be honest, Albania doesn't really have a real amusement park. I think they just have got like little tiny mini fairgrounds. What we would consider a fair would be their amusement park. It kind of reminds me of Myanmar, Cambodia, not just Myanmar,
yeah.
Where it's like their rides and stuff are just like same as a fairground ride, except that's their whole amusement park.
My family's from the Czech Republic, and when I was there on a trip with my mom, we saw this like I would call it a very quaint fair, something that might set up in the U.S. as like a shopping mall, like whatever, and it was like, no,
Yeah.
that's the amusement park here. It's like, oh, that's quaint, But Terry wants to know if it's okay to rent a car to travel around.
Yeah, I did rent a car. It was around $20 a day with the insurance and everything. You want to make sure you get full coverage of insurance, and you want to go through the company, not through another like you want to do it straight through that rental car company. You don't want to do it through a middleman because sometimes they will make you pay a down payment if you scratch the car at all. Like you'll have to like pay a down payment and talk to that middleman insurance company. But if you go straight through that car company's rental car policy and you pay for the extra insurance straight through them, it's going to be no questions asked, no problem. Like it's just a bit better.
Wu Taiwan wants to know what the Albania price of travel is compared to U.S. travel.
Oh man, I mean, $15 hotel rooms. When you get out of Tirana, things get a lot cheaper. So like, $10 hotel rooms would not be out of the question. Maybe $8 hotel rooms, very similar to Thai prices, but just maybe like 25% more, maybe. So like $10 instead of $6. I mean, it's crazy cheap overall. The prices, and then the food. You go to a restaurant, you know, you're going to spend like $10 a person for the food, and you're going to have like 2 beers with your meal or 3 beers with your meal or whatever you want. I mean, that's still going to be $10 because the beer is $1, so that's $3. Then a whole massive meal where you're full is, you know, another $5. So maybe it's $8 per person. It's just very affordable.
Pretty cheap. Troy wants to know sporting areas, sports teams, soccer, football.
They're very into football. They're pretty much obsessed with it in all of Europe. They have the stuff going on. The Euro thing is happening this couple of weeks in all of Europe, and so yeah, Serbia is in that, I guess, and so everybody's out having their beers and watching the game. It's pretty energetic here overall. Like in Albania, they go crazy for football in Albania, and whenever they play Serbia, it's a very big drama. I mean, it can be breaking out into riots. So here in Serbia, they really love their football so much that they will make riots for their football.
Riots, good times. Kathy wants to know, what's the best time of year to go to the Balkans?
The best time to go to the Balkans is probably right now or like 1 month ago. It's like kind of this nice spring time, and it's not too cold at all. It's basically like full on spring right now, and you know, it feels like in Europe the summer is delayed for about like a month. So the weather all changes like 1 month later than the USA, it feels like. So right now is like the full on spring, and then next month things get really hot. So in Albania it's unbearable in like July, August, September. It's just super scorching hot outside. But there is places you can go to escape the heat. Okrid Lake, going to Pogradec is probably your best bet to escape the heat, because the lake is the deepest lake in all of the Balkans. It's 1,000 feet deep, so it keeps the whole area around the lake very cool. So it's kind of like going to the beach, except it's a lake and it's fresh water, and you get still a lot of good lake food, fresh seafood, I want to say.
Scottman85 Travel says he was in the Balkans, rented a car twice, had a great experience. The roads were great, and he also agrees with the full insurance tip. So, good tip. You get a second thumbs up on that one. Valerian the Mac the Third says, what's the main language in Albania?
Well, it's Albanian. It's actually its own language. It's not related to any other language, but I can understand some Albanian, like as far as it's got some Latin base into it, but it's not related to any other language. It's very similar to like Hungarian. Hungarian is also not related to any other languages around. And so that kind of surprised me, because I feel like I can understand some Albanian, but it's not related to any languages that I know.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the time you've been waiting for. It's time for the giveaway.
Fellow explorers, as usual on these live streams, I always give away a Yellow Productions Crew shirt if you can answer one of my questions. And so my question for you today to win the Yellow Productions Crew shirt shipped to you anywhere in the world is, where in the world is Bert right now? If you can answer where Bert is, where that apartment that he is right now, where that is, you got to say the city and the country to win, then you'll win a Yellow Productions Crew shirt. While people are putting those answers in the chat, Bert, where are you headed to next?
I am going to go to Thailand, Phuket. Phuket is where I'm going to go for the next, maybe 5 months or who knows how long. But yeah, in about 5 weeks from now, I will be going to Phuket, Thailand. And I'm going to go, and they have the quarantine-free time, so you don't have to quarantine if you are fully vaccinated. So I am waiting the 5 weeks until I'm able to be fully vaccinated.
Very good. What sort of proof do you upload your vaccination cards, or what do you show them?
I think it's just a physical, vaccinated by Pfizer kind of card.
Okay.
You just, to do the non-quarantine, you need to have, proof that you're fully vaccinated. So 2 weeks after your second shot, so you can fly to Phuket and then enjoy that island for 2 weeks and not be stuck inside of a room.
Yeah.
And you can at least like enjoy the surrounding beaches, or enjoy what Phuket has to offer. So you can only stay in Phuket though. You cannot leave for the 2 weeks, and you still have to wear a mask. And you cannot go to, there's no bars there. I don't know if there's going to be drinking on the island because they don't want people to be talking to each other and just.
Well,
Yeah,
Bert, when
like
you do
Thailand
go there,
is.
yeah, you'll have to come back and tell us what the semi-quarantine is like in Phuket.
Yeah.
So Gilberto was the first person to give this answer. Is this the right answer, Bert?
You are correct. I'm in the center
And
of
now
Belgrade,
we
Serbia.
have a winner chicken dinner.
Sorry, I cut you off. You can continue with that answer, but we needed the winner chicken dinner. So
That was amazing. I love all of your slideshow pieces. Like all the little pieces make the live show so fun.
oh, right on.
Chicken
Thanks.
dinner.
Yeah, Gilberto, this is his 4th win, so congratulations, Gilberto.
Wow.
Gilberto says fantastic 4th. He's like super fast on the keyboard. So Gilberto, you know how to get in touch with me. You can let me know what you want for this one. All right, and so Bert, if people want to tune into your content, how do they do it, and what'll they find when they get there?
My content, I'm kind of focused on food, but I also do abandoned places like urban exploration. And so I'm still sometimes experimenting and doing some live streams also like you, Chris, and trying to find more ways to get more content out there and push more content and finding the right balance between editing and, getting the right things to where people love the video more. So yeah, my videos are mostly food based and travel based and trying to save you money. And there's one more thing about banks. Like I try to save you guys money when you travel, like not to get scammed by certain ATMs that will charge you 10 or 15% of your money. So I try to talk about things that will help you enjoy the country more, like that. So yeah. Oh, but yeah, one thing we forgot to mention is there's one ATM that I went to here in Macedonia, and it's also in Serbia too. It's called Sparks Bank, I think, or Spartacus Bank or something like that. And they charge 15 per, like if you hit the wrong button, they'll automatically charge 15% of a commission fee, like basically the bad transaction fee, like a fee for the rate
Yes.
that they're charging you for euros or
Yes.
for the local currency.
Yeah,
And
every country has that generally, right? And I like to refer in like it's prevalent throughout Europe. It's prevalent throughout the world, I feel like, and it's always on the ones that understand English, and then they just go like, "Here's the currency conversion rate. Would you like to accept the dynamic currency conversion?" And if you say yes, then it'll be like, "I'm going to give you way less money for your dollar," as opposed to if you just hit no,
Exactly.
you'll get more money, right? Yeah.
And I did that. I got charged like $60 at ATM because I pulled out like $500, and it was a bad exchange rate. So I looked at my final bill. I was like, "Whoa, that's a lot of money for that bank." So, anyways, I just wanted to remind you guys that was a big thing to experience in Macedonia, to make sure you hit that no button. In Albania, you will not find these ATMs, from what I found. But yeah, anyways, that's one thing I forgot to mention today. But
All right.
yeah,
Well, good tip, Bert. Thank you very much. For everybody who wants to check out Bert's channel, Food Expert, you'll also find a link in the description below. Thanks everybody for watching. The next live stream is going to be a week from today, Tuesday, 4:45 p.m. Los Angeles time. My guest on next week's live stream will be Say Hi to Matthew. We'll be talking all about some more of the best food in Las Vegas. And then in a couple weeks, I'll be talking about the Hawaii trip. So stay tuned. But this Friday's upload is going to be all about what our experience in Hawaii was last week. What does it look like now? So if you really want to know what that was like in recorded form and see it right there, then stay tuned for that. But if you want to check out food and see where Bert's going next, definitely check out Food Expert. All right, well, Bert, thanks for coming on. I'll see you all in the next video.
Thanks, Chris, for having me.